Hey everybody, I'm Ted Rockwell from the Division of Continuing Education at CU Boulder. Today we're having a conversation about staying on track even when life throws a sharp turn at you. And today's student, a special guest student, has gone through something just like that, but is now currently pursuing a law degree. Sasha Strong, thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Excellent. Why don't you help set the stage? Where did you come from? What were your educational goals? And then what are your current educational goals?
Yeah, so I moved to Colorado from Red Lake, Minnesota in 2011. And I got pregnant at the age of 19 and had my son at the age of 20. And at that point, I was just working a job, paycheck to paycheck essentially, and I decided that I wanted more for my son at the very least, and so I decided I was going to go back to school, and at that point I didn't necessarily have a plan. I was just getting my prerequisites done, so I soon found that I really enjoyed school and decided that law was the kind of direction that I wanted to go in, so I took steps towards achieving that through my education.
Okay. So you have a son while you're an undergraduate here at CU Boulder.
Yes.
And so why don't you take me back to the summer of 2016 and describe what happened that summer.
Yeah, so summer of 2016, I was in an indoor soccer league. It's really important to have outside activities when you're in college. And I just took a hit while playing and completely tore my ACL and my meniscus. When it happened, the guy was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "No, I'm not okay right now." And it was really, really painful and scary. And so that was kind of the beginning of realizing that my life was going to look a little different over the next year or so. And so at that point, I hadn't really figured out what I was going to do. I was already enrolled in classes for the upcoming fall semester. But then the first day of classes, I'm literally crutching around, crying because I was in pain and I wasn't fast enough crutcher to get to my classes on time. And that was kind of the signal for me that I knew on campus wasn't going to be the best solution for me.
So when that occurred and the realization that you might not be able to make all 4 classes or whatever it was you were taking that fall, what did you first describe your first feelings? I'm sure that there was a feeling of hopelessness there, but then how did you then channel that and start taking action?
Yeah, so at first I was like, oh my God, what am I gonna do? I literally can't get around campus fast enough. If only I had a golf cart. So I definitely felt that hopelessness and fear surrounding what I was going to do. And then I spoke with my advisor and she was like, well, maybe you should consider continuing education. It's online learning, and that way you can elevate your knee and be in class at the same time.
Did that sound like a good option to you?
No. To be honest, no. I was like, no, I want to be on campus with my friends and things like that. And I'd always kind of just preferred being in class. I like the intimacy of being around my classmates, going to office hours with my professors and things like that. So it wasn't necessarily an attractive option for me, but at that time it was the necessary option for me.
And so when you started getting involved with those online classes, what did you discover about that experience?
So I found it to be extremely intimate, far more intimate than I thought it would be, given that it's over a screen. I had this one literature class I took, and she would meet me for coffee and stuff like that. So I got the actual intimacy I was hoping for through in-person contact, and additionally, she would do videos, she would do live discussions and things like that. So I was pleasantly surprised at how that class ended up turning out.
So can you share maybe a little bit more about what online ended up meaning for you. Did you just do one semester of online courses?
Yeah.
And how many courses did you end up taking?
Well, actually, technically, I did 2 semesters.
Okay.
The year I graduated, I did one of those summer courses online, and that was also great. So essentially what online learning meant to me prior to and then after was like, oh, like, why am I going to have to go out to do these things online, all that sort of stuff. But eventually it actually turned into this positive thing for me where I was able to appreciate the fact that there are these other resources that we have on campus. And I was able to stay on track as a result of it. So to me, I view online learning with gratitude, I would say.
Oh, wow. That's really amazing. I'm not sure that I've ever heard anyone use the word gratitude, but that makes a lot of sense given your story. At the same time, you're juggling not only the injury, but you're a single mom. Maybe help us understand a little bit of what that's like. I mean, it seems like everyone has their own challenges, but that's a kind of a double whammy in a way. It's like I can't get around and I'm responsible for another human being and I'm going to college at the same time.
So that, I mean, just generally, it's not the easiest thing in the world, even when I have a healthy knee. But yeah, I would say during that time, it was a lot of people helping me, you know. My dad flew into town when I got surgery to help me. My son was 3.5 or 4 at the time, I believe. No, he had just turned 4. And it was difficult. I had like this massive bionic leg thing going on, and I was like, you can't touch the robot leg, like hug on the left side, don't touch the robot leg, whatever you do. But it was a lot to handle. But having my dad fly out from Minnesota to help me was immensely helpful. My son's very caring and sweet, so he intuitively just wants to make sure everyone's happy and safe and things like that. So while he was 4, he did pretty well with it. And it was just a matter of like, my dad would help me. I would be on the couch. I would be writing a paper for the class or something like that. So it was a lot to juggle. But in truth, because I was like laid up on bed rest essentially, it was a little bit relaxing because normally I'm going 100 miles per hour during regular semesters, like healthy semesters, we'll call it. So it was a little bit relaxing. I mean, it was stressful and scary and sad because no one wants to be able to not get up on their own without help or things like that. But overall, I think to that end, the online learning is what contributed to the relaxing nature of it because I wasn't stressed about being on campus all the time.
Yeah, interesting. You know, we are live on Facebook, and so people are asking questions on our Facebook page now. I have a question for you that's just come in that's related to that. So the question really is, did you find it difficult to stay focused in online classes when you were used to being on campus? And if so, how did you help that?
That's a great question. So it was a lot of just like self-discipline. I mean, I'm human. I do not always stick to these like written out schedules that I like to do. But it came down to it. It was just like a matter of you have to kind of just do it. And then when I did get behind in certain areas, it was an unfortunate thing, but I had to cram a little harder for the areas that I wasn't necessarily being perfectly on top of. What's perfect anyway? But yeah, I mean, it was definitely hard at first because I was so used to this interaction between my professor, between my classmates and things like that. But the video learning was really, really helpful with the online courses that I was taking. So that kind of was a sufficient substitute for not having that interaction between like faces, you know? So it was a little bit of an adjustment, but as far as like being successful in it, it's really just a matter of doing your best to keep to a schedule, because you're essentially, I mean, it helps when you're in a class where it's like, okay, you have to turn this assignment in by Friday. That helps. But in some of them, it's like, okay, you have a paper due at the end of this and you're going to be reading a lot and certain things. So it's just a matter of sticking to a plan. When you don't stick to a plan, because we're human and we don't always follow everything to a T, being willing to put in that little extra work to catch up to the plan.
So did you interact with any continuing ed advisors? Did you just enroll in those online classes directly?
So after my advisor suggested that I do CU continuing ed, I just enrolled online. I've always kind of weirdly been into scheduling and things like that. So I just really enjoyed doing that. So I didn't speak with a CU continuing ed advisor.
A lot of people have they don't understand that they can just enroll in the courses, that they don't need to have you even mentioned to me in a pre-call about, well, the name continuing ed is even a little confusing for undergraduates, right? Yeah. Because they may not see it as an option for them, when in fact you could just enroll directly in them.
Oh yeah, no, I mean the whole name of it kind of has a the attachment to it is like, oh, I've already finished my degree and now I'm doing something else. So that was also something I thought of prior to actually doing it. But in truth, it just helps you continue to maintain on track.
Well, so you were able to stay on track by using some online courses through continuing ed, and you ended up graduating. When did you graduate with your undergraduate degree?
2017.
Well, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
It's been a couple of years. I'm sorry I missed the date. But we didn't really know each other then.
That's true.
So now you're currently enrolled at the law school at CU Boulder.
Yes.
What's your education philosophy now?
I would say roughly the same. Like, I put the work in. It's hard. Definitely law school is not easy, but I'm really passionate about what I do. So
what are you studying specifically? Are you specializing in one area or another?
Yeah, well, the first year of law school is like prerequisites, essentially, so that you can get a foundational understanding of how the law works in the U.S. And internationally in some instances. But my plan is to get the American Indian Law Certificate and the Family Law Certificate. So I want to work in the intersection between the Indian Child Welfare Act and essentially maintaining and keeping Native American families together.
Oh, that's really interesting. And this particular law school has that as a specialty, right?
Yeah, we have a lot of great specialties at CU. There's immigration, there's American Indian law, there's family law, there's criminal immigration as well. So there's there's the civil side, and then there's also the actual criminal side of things. We have a lot of intellectual property. I really love CU law, as you might be able to tell. But yeah, there is a lot of great opportunities in the law school.
Excellent. So maybe you could share with us what you may understand about pursuing education that some others may not understand. What from your experience have you've now been in school for quite a bit of time.
Absolutely.
If someone's interested in getting started in either an undergraduate degree or a graduate degree, what would you tell them about your experience?
As daunting as it may seem, it's not. It levels out. Something I've just inherently learned about myself, and I think about just human nature in general, is that we're a lot more resilient than we think we are. And so, I mean, I remember initially enrolling back into school and being terrified, and I only took one class because I was like, okay, I can't juggle more than this. And it was very scary at first, but what I found was that, shocking, if I go to class and I put the work in, I do well. And I pass the classes, and I enjoy the content that I'm learning. So it was more of just kind of getting over that hurdle, the mental hurdle, I think, starting out about like, oh, like I'm a single mom right now, like I'm in my 20s, blah, 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 blah. Like all these mental like narratives that we tell ourselves are just simply not true most of the time. And I found that just by trial and error and just kind of trusting myself in the process that this isn't as scary as I thought it was. And in fact, I enjoy it, and I know it's going towards something good.
Were there any particular specific fears that you had that you realized once you got into it, it was like, I was just being so silly about this?
Yes. Math. Law students don't like math. I was really, really, really scared about taking this like pre-algebra class. That's where I placed at the time. It wasn't that bad. I got a tutor. I had classmates come over to study with me. Again, I really do enjoy the interpersonal aspect of things. So I truly enjoyed that aspect, which I was so grateful that my professor was willing to meet me for coffee when I was doing online learning. So
yeah, excellent. So what's next for you? When are you poised to be able to finish your law degree?
So I will be graduating in May of 2021, not 2020. Okay. I'm a 1L. If everything goes as planned, it will be May 2021.
And then once you've graduated, what are your hopes for what you'll do with that degree as you move forward into the future?
Yeah, so I'm not entirely sure. I don't have like a set plan per se. This summer I will be working with Boulder County Legal Services, so I'll be giving legal aid to qualifying low-income individuals. So I'm pretty excited about that. I will also be working for the Havasupai tribe in Arizona, working on their appellate procedures. So I don't necessarily know exactly what I want to do. I do know this overarching theme of I want to help people, and I would like to go into a sphere that would touch on family law and American Indian law.
That's excellent. I found myself kind of reading your background and I think I told you this in the call that we had the other day. I hope I didn't freak you out, but I was really inspired. I mean, I really see so much in your story that people should get some hope from. And so anyhow, I wish you all the luck on all those goals. We have a couple of questions coming in from Facebook.
Okay.
I'm going to go ahead and ask them for you.
Sweet.
Let's see, I know you mentioned some self-discipline, but do you have any study tips, campus resources, etc., that you'd recommend from having to take the non-traditional path through undergrad? So in other words, since you took a slightly different path than maybe a normal undergrad, what kind of resources did you rely on?
The resources that are on campus, like the Writing Center, for instance. Oh my gosh. Like I consider myself a decent writer, and I still went to the Writing Center for every single paper that I wrote because 2 eyes are better than one, So just utilizing those resources that are on campus, I found to be incredibly helpful. I was a SASE student, so Student Academic Success, I believe.
Yes.
I hope I didn't butcher that. I'm sorry, Sue, if I did. But just having these outside resources that are provided through the school was really, really helpful for me. As for study tips, I think it's really important to kind of identify what kind of person you are, because what works for me might not necessarily work for someone else. I personally thrive when I'm kind of talking through concepts and bouncing ideas off of people. So for me, group studying is really helpful. Excuse me. Flashcards. I really still like flashcards. So if you're flashcard averse, maybe consider trying out flashcards.
Start a study group called Flashcard Averse.
Yeah. But yeah, so that, I mean, as far as like actual like practical things, it was a lot of just talking through the concepts so that I could understand and learn it in like an innate level. Mm-hmm.
So I have another question that's really fast. I mean, the point of learners figuring out what kind of learner there are, that is such an important thing that many people don't get for a very long time. I got my master's degree way many years ago, and it took me till partway through my master's degree to even realize that could be a thing, right? So great advice there. Another question from Facebook. Were you able to interact with the other students in your online class? You talk about interacting with the professor. How did that work?
So I'd never got FaceTime with my other classmates, but through online discussions, which most courses require to some extent so that you're actually getting that bouncing ideas off of your classmates sort of thing, that is where I got most of my interaction with my classmates. I have heard other stories from friends that have taken online courses that they've actually met up with their classmates to study for a test or things like that. But that wasn't necessarily my story as far as classmates went.
Okay. Oh, great. As I said, I personally am totally inspired by your story. I could sit here and talk to you all day long, but I really want to thank you very much for sharing your story today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. And thank you for joining us here on Facebook Live today. Join us again for more Own Your Journey conversations as we have more conversations with students in the future. Have a great day.